therapist here in the state of Georgia. I have a private practice in East Point, Georgia, but because of the pandemic, like I'm doing everything through Zoom and just everything virtually. So I haven't been in the office really since last year. So it's always exciting to be able to come and share virtually because that's the times that we are in. As far as my story, I went to Westlake High School. I'm not sure, Mr. Willie, are most of the kids in the city of South Fulton or?
No, they some of them go to APS school, some of them Clayton. I think my son Christopher, he is the only one that I'm not sure, but he's the only. I mean, he goes to Westlake actually. So they're
Okay,
from
cool.
different places: Clayton County, APS, Fulton, and maybe Cobb also. And
Okay,
one,
well, cool.
I know one couple of people they're actually in Maryland.
Okay, gotcha. So, well, I went to a Fulton County school here in Atlanta, Georgia. I went to Westlake High School. Actually, I did all of my schooling in Fulton County, elementary, middle, and high school. But it was in high school that I decided that I really wanted to work in the mental health field. As I've shared with Mr. Willie several times, I was going through some things. I remember my 12th grade year, I believe. And it was a lot of rumors circulating around the school. And for some of you all on this call, you know, you've dealt with that. You've dealt with bullying. You've dealt with rumors. You've dealt with all of that. And so I went to see my school counselor, and I was really upset. I did not know how to like deal with what was going on. My parents didn't understand. So I went to my school counselor in hopes to get some kind of advice or help or something. And when I went to see her, she told me, she said, "Well, Erica, if they're saying rumors about you, then those rumors must be true." And I was so stunned. I was shocked. It was like a ton of bricks hit me because it's like, hey, I'm really struggling here. And the person that I came to for help, she did not help me. In fact, she made it worse. So from that moment, I decided that whatever it was that I was going to do when I became an adult, it was going to be geared towards helping others just through those emotional challenges. And so that is how I got here. I am a real person. Yes, and I'm an adult, but I've been a teenager before, just like Mr. Willie has been a teenager before. So it's nothing new under the sun. It may have a different name. When we were growing up, of course, we didn't have social media and all of that, but you know, we can understand. So I want you guys to feel open and just safe to be able to share. I know that you guys have been talking about depression. Is there like someone on the call that can kind of like bring me up to date, one of the scenes of like what you guys have been talking about? Somebody that's bold enough that wants to share.
Shalom, Michaela.
Okay.
Denisha.
So we've been talking about depression, anxiety. We've been talking about suicide and how that affects other people and what other people have gone through and what led up to it. And we try to learn how we can help other people who we know are going through stuff like that.
Okay, that's really good. That's really good. So one of the things that I've been seeing, guys, especially during this pandemic for teens, especially, is this thing of like depression. You know, life is different now. Like we cannot go out and really do the same things we used to do. Some of us are doing all of our schooling virtually, and life is just different. And sometimes that can cause us to be sad. So I think it's important, and I don't know, Mr. Willie, if you guys have kind of touched on this, like figuring out some ways to deal with the sadness, how to cope with it. What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Willie?
I mean, I think we've talked about it, but I think that also that you can bring a different perspective than just adding something. But we've talked about it, and I think, I mean, as you know, I don't think it's like one thing that fit in certain things may connect, and some things may not connect. But we've talked about some things, but certainly just want to hear your ideas, your perspective on suggestions or anything like that.
Okay, so I want us to be very clear on what depression is. So I'm not going to give y'all like the booky definition, the technical version. It's very simple. Depression is simply having like sadness about stuff that's happened in the past. So some of us on this call have gone through like really, really sad things, whether we've lost a loved one, whether we've gone through maybe our family not having money to do certain things. we've just gone through things in our lives that have caused sadness. And so, years down the line, it can cause us to be depressed. So what I want to kind of focus on for a second is, first of all, how to identify depression, and what are some things that we can do when we find ourselves in a depressed state. So number one, there are like a lot of telltale signs to let you know, wait, I might be depressed. One of the big things is that you just don't really enjoy doing the things that you used to do. Like, some of you guys may play sports. Some of you all may be into, I don't know, fashion or whatever. And when you find yourself in a place where it's like, I'm just not interested in that anymore, we may be going through like a state of sadness. Anybody on this call feel like, I'm just not enjoying the things I used to enjoy? Anybody?
Yes, at one point.
What do you say, Shalom?
I said yes at one point.
Yeah, tell me about that, Shalom.
At school, I used to like talking to people, but at one point I just stopped. I distanced myself and started being closed off.
Yeah. That's a big one too, closing yourself off, like kind of isolating. I remember as a teen, around that same time that I was telling you guys about with the school counselor and all of that, like I went into a place of just really isolating myself. I would come home from school, do my homework, and I couldn't lock my door as a teen, but I would go in my room and just be in there and be to myself, because I felt like no one understood. I felt like I was an oddball, and I thought it was just best to stay to myself. And so if you guys are finding yourself kind of doing that, then we may need to like talk to someone, maybe talk to our parents, maybe a really close friend or family member, to talk about what we got going on. Because a lot of the times when we have depression, it really helps just to talk about it instead of stuffing it in. Because when we stuff it in, eventually, guess what? We will explode. We'll explode. Anybody ever exploded because it was just so much, one thing after another? Anybody?
Most definitely.
Yeah, who said most definitely? Talk back to me. Who said it? Because I can't see you guys' faces. Who said I have, and most definitely?
I said most definitely, and Donisha said I have.
Okay, well, let's hear from both of you all. Whoever wants to go first.
Denisha, go ahead and tell us about your experience.
I guess it just got so overwhelming to the point where I just lashed out and like start arguing.
What were you overwhelmed with? People, life,
situations, life, people.
And some of all of it.
Yeah. What about you, Shalom? Thank you for sharing that. Was it Danisha? Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
Shalom, you were gonna go?
Yeah. Once I was just going through a lot. People was getting on my last nerves, and I just try to keep it all in and try to compose myself. But then at one point I couldn't take it no more, so I just let it all out.
Yeah.
And I went off.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's kind of what happens when we don't talk about stuff, you guys. Even as a grown woman today, like I have to check myself and say, all right, wait, you need to be talking. You need to find somebody that's safe, that you can kind of, like when you guys come to these groups with Mr. Willie, this is a safe space to talk about the stuff that you've got going on, instead of holding it in, because eventually you will explode, and it may not be pretty. It may come out where you're maybe arguing with adults or getting in trouble at school if you're not doing it virtually, all kind of stuff. So it's so important to talk about what it is that you're feeling. If something has hurt you, you got to talk about it.
Well, Erica, let me ask you this, because I know you talked about when you hold things in and you can explode. What about some of the physical things that could happen?
Right. So with depression, some of us may see, and it really doesn't matter how old you are. Some of the physical things that may happen is, okay, you realize, wait, I am not doing the self-care or taking care of my hygiene. Basically, I'm not bathing. I may not comb my hair or brush my hair, and it's usually I do take care of myself, but right now I'm not. We may need to look into seeing if you're feeling a little depressed. because when we feel depressed, we kind of just let all that stuff go because it doesn't matter. So if any of you all are in that place where it's like, I just don't have the energy to do any of that, we may be looking at some depression. And so depression is not necessarily a bad thing. If we're going through depression, it lets us know that we're human. All of us have gone through depression, but the key is learning how to get yourself out of that state and not just staying there. And a few ways, like I was saying, first of all, being able to talk to someone. Another thing would be journaling. Journaling is so good to just kind of get it out on paper. And I'm not talking about you grabbing your phone and writing it in there. I'm talking about actually putting pen to paper and writing out your feelings. And sometimes it may mean after I write it, because I don't want anybody else to see it, throwing it away, making sure you get rid of it, but being able to write it out and being able to see it and reread it to yourself, that helps with sadness. It kind of lets you know, like, okay, this is where I am, and this is probably what I need to change. Maybe I do need to do some more self-care, things of that nature. Anybody have any questions about any of this?
Any questions? Berean, Christopher? Let me ask. Berean, did you say anything?
Yeah, no, I don't have any questions.
Eric, and I think when you're saying that when you were in high school, most of it was just rumors of bullying and type stuff. So how did you, once you went through the counselor and they just like making a statement, well, if they said it must be true, how did that make you react, and how did you deal with the remainder of being in high school and just during that complete time? I know that you mentioned that you failed hard, you would go home and you shut yourself out. So how did you really cope with what was going on? Because I know most of the time that we're at that age, we're trying to just find ourselves and deal with certain things. And now you got somebody, something that's bothering you, and they just say, well, that ain't making me feel better. Whether it's true or not, it's making me feel a certain way, and I'm coming to you for something more than that. So how did you, what was you, a junior year or senior year?
Senior year, so I was about 17 years old.
So how did you deal with that as a teenager, as a senior?
Okay, so you know what, I haven't thought about this in a while, but one of the biggest things that I did was I tapped into like my hobbies and things that I knew I was good at. Like, for instance, I love the arts. I love singing. I love acting. I love all of that. And so I would, really throw myself into those kind of things, and it would make me feel better. So for you guys on the call, you may not have someone right off that you can talk to about what you got going on, but if you have a certain thing that you're interested in and that really makes you feel good and warm and fuzzy on the inside, do that thing. I would go in my room and sing and whatever for hours. People probably didn't understand. They probably thought I was a little touched, something was wrong, but it helped me. So I had to go within to find, like what makes me happy, what would make me tick. And then also, and I don't know, everyone on the call is different, but personally, during that time, my family and I were heavy into church. And so I found at an early age, like, okay, when I pray, that makes me feel better. I wasn't really sure, and I don't think I really understood what it all meant. I just knew that when I did that, when I turned to a power higher than myself, I felt better. That may not be something that you guys do, but if you are a believer, that also helps as well, just to kind of take some quiet time and think about one of the biggest things. I say this, and I didn't do this as a kid, but one big thing, guys, is to really sit back and think about all the good things that are going on in life, right? Like, we got to begin to just be more grateful, because even though we're in this pandemic, life is different. We can't hang out with our friends. We can't do this. We can't do that. But being able to look at what we do have. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How about one of your hobbies that you really enjoy doing and you actually do it, but every time you do it, you don't feel nothing? Because usually you'll feel like this inspiration to motivate you, but then when you try to do it lately, it's just like, I could do better, or it's not feeling the same like how you was doing it before.
Well, here's the thing. Is this Shalom talking to me?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the thing. Sometimes our interests or our hobbies, they change as time goes on, you know? Whereas last year you might have really enjoyed, I don't know, cooking and finding new recipes. As we get older and life changes, life shifts, we may not like the same thing. So you may have to begin to just tap into different areas to see, well, maybe I may not like that as much anymore. Maybe I might like, cutting on a YouTube video and learning how to dance or whatever it may be. But it's okay if that hobby no longer interests you. It's not necessarily meaning that something is wrong. You might just not be interested in anymore. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I actually want to do it.
Okay. Well, that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier and us maybe being just sad. And sometimes the sadness can overwhelm us so much that we just don't have interest in it. So I would encourage you, because I don't know what you personally have going on. I would encourage you to kind of sit with yourself and figure out, like, what are kind of the things right now that are distracting me from the things that I really, really love? You know, what kind of things are going on in my life? What is taking up a lot of my mind space? Because I'm not able to focus on what I really like. Do you get what I'm saying to you?
Yes.
Does that help a little? Let me know.
Okay. I think it would help.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions?
I have a comment. Hi, good evening. This is Jody, and thank you so much for coming on and talking to our young people.
Yes.
I have one comment, and I think this is just how I interpreted the question that Shalom asked. Mm-hmm. I find that, especially teenage girls, I would say, they are self-critical about a lot of things. Like, they're very hard on themselves. So Shalom, I will encourage you to embrace your uniqueness and who you are, and validate yourself for you. You know, but oftentimes we are super self-critical. Like, it's not good enough. It's not, start building vocabulary and adding affirmations more than being self-critical about the things that actually are unique and identifiers of your character and of the person that you're becoming. And like our guest, I forgot your name, I'm so sorry.
Erica, it's Erica.
Miss Erica. So at the end of the day, you will evolve and grow with time, but embrace every season and embrace everything that makes you, Shalom.
I love that.
Thank you.
That's good, Jody. That's very good, Jody. I love that. I really do. That brings up something else. I think someone made a comment. They wrote something. I don't know if I could see it, but
yes,
as we're trying to figure that out, I do want to mention self-esteem. Is so important. If you guys can grasp that self-esteem now, and you don't have to wait till you get in your 30s or 40s like us to try to figure it out then, you're gonna save yourself a lot of challenges. Like, I'm not gonna say life is gonna be perfect, but if you can grasp kind of like what Miss Jody is saying now, like if you can grasp just loving yourself for who you are and kind of embracing your uniqueness, life will be a lot better than not loving yourself and going through life, looking for others to validate you and tell you that you're great. If you can find that within yourself, oh my goodness, the world is in your hands. What was the question in the chat? Huh?
How do you really do that? I mean, because I guess it's more easier said than done. Just try to, I guess it's self-love, but and I know probably as a teenager, not just teenagers, adults, that could be hard when I'm trying to love myself, but I'm getting all these external negatives from something, and it's hard. It's like, especially with teenagers, and you're trying to find yourself, and I'm trying to love myself, but everybody's talking about me, but I'm still trying to love myself, but my love is not strong enough to deal with the the negative, the haters, the bullies, those that just gonna talk about you. Because some of our young ladies come up, like, you don't wear your hair right, or you don't dress right, you don't wear the clothes that we have. I mean, this issue. So how do I have this strong self-love that's gonna stop me from hearing all the negative?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it kind of goes back to what we were just saying, Mr. Willie, being able to just really, really validate yourself and being able to block out the noise, because I am here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, throughout your life, you're going to have people that are going to talk about you. It does not stop. And so we've got to learn now, like, how to block that out. One of those things is waking up every day, looking in the mirror, and just really talking very positive to yourself, affirming yourself daily. So say, for instance, you wake up in the morning and you say, I am beautiful, I am intelligent, I am talented, all those things, and you continuously say those things throughout the day. When a person comes with something that does not match up with that, you would be so confident in yourself because you've been training your mind to say these positive things. Those negative comments should really just bounce off of you. Am I saying that this will just be like an easy process? No, it takes practice. It takes waking up every morning and deciding that I'm gonna love myself today. Even if I wake up and I have a pimple because acne is really tearing me up right now, I am going to love myself. We've got to learn to really fill ourselves up with positivity. We got to do that. And so when other people come with negativity or negative comments, we're able to just kind of, all right, I'm not allowing that to come in my space. It takes work. It's not easy, but it's definitely something that can be done with practice.
Yep, with practice. And a good point there, Erica. It does go through your entire life, adult life, because us as grown women, we'll still have women that will hate you just because.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So it's interesting. And again, you just got to build yourself. And the earlier that you start at this practice, the more, you'll build those muscles to exercise that. And a lot of those negative thoughts too, and self-critique is, to me, I think, is those principalities and powers that we fight against on a daily. So this is a platform that I know that all of us are believers. So your spiritual growth and your spiritual maturity, all of that, you're exercising all of that. When you are being attacked and you have those negative voices in your mind, put on a song of inspiration, like praise God through it all. And you would see that the Spirit of God, which He has left us here with, you will hear God speaking through you and ministering to your spirit. And I promise you, He will elevate you. He will elevate you, and you will, you'll succeed. So hang in there, guys. We love you. And trust me, this is not a teenager and an adult battle. We all face it on different levels and different seasons. So let's just keep fighting good fight.
I totally agree.
And I would just like to say, along with that, Ms. Joe and Ms. Erica, as a teacher for several years, not just as a teacher, but in several youth groups, young people and older people, one thing that you don't want to ever do is compare yourself to someone else. You do not want to compare to someone else. You have your example, be you, no comparison.
Someone in the chat, David, said that, how do you know who to trust and tell someone how you're feeling?
You're muted, Erica. You muted yourself again, Erica.
Okay. I can answer, or one of the others can. We can all chime in, I guess. But
what this question? I mean, did you see this question? I mean, yes. How do you know who to trust, who to tell someone how you were feeling? I mean, and I would just say that I know that's hard, especially as a teenager, because that person you trust may be the one that makes the situation worse for you. So, I mean, but that's adult people that we think may be our friends and we want to trust, and then they do that. So it's a difficult question because you just have to watch your relationships. So you watch those relationships and you watch how those relationships develop. And you do little simple things. You give people little, I think it's like working out. You don't start with heavy weight. Yeah. So you start with something little. And if somebody does something with something little, then you know not to give them a big trust type thing. So I wouldn't go through like something I'm really, really going through and like, I'm gonna tell this, and I just share it this way and then I let Erica, whoever, when I used to, I think early in my law practice, I did a lot of domestic cases. And a lot of those domestic cases were divorces. And I would have people, especially women, that would come to me, and they had friends that they probably, something like, we've been friends since kindergarten. So they would come into my office and they would tell me something that they had never shared with a friend, with a family member. And I'm like, you don't know me, but you're trusting me with certain information because of what you're trying to get. But it always amazed me that some people that I've known, like, I've been married 15 years and I've been thinking this, I never told my friends, I never told, I'm like, you've been carrying this, you're telling me. But there are a lot of people that go through things, that are going through things in life, and some of them may be who you consider your closest friends. And think about yourself. There are things that we have, or things that we've done in the past that we have no intentions whatsoever of ever sharing with anybody. And that part of it, whether somebody's going to be judgmental or whether or not we can really trust them. So I think that goes to the question. But Erica, do you have something to add to that?
I think that was an amazing answer. What you said, Mr. Willie, just kind of looking at your relationships. One thing too, my mom taught me this many years ago, and I didn't quite catch it until I got an adult, like super grown. And she told me, she said, well, the way you kind of know what kind of person you're dealing with and if you can trust them is if they mess around and tell you somebody else's business. And I didn't understand. I'm like, but we might just be talking. But she's like, no, if they're telling you someone else's business and this person told them this and they told them this thinking that they would keep it and not share it with anybody, but your friend or whoever it is came and told you, you better believe that they will probably go and do the same thing to you. So that is a telltale sign. So for instance, if you guys got a friend, a home girl, a home boy, and they're always talking about somebody else's private business. It could be, well, their parents are getting a divorce or their parents lost their job. And it's like, wait, that's their personal business. I'm pretty sure they didn't want you to tell me that. That is a telltale sign that they will probably tell your business too. So just really pay attention, like Mr. Willie said, to the relationships that you have in this life. And I still hopefully got a lot of life to live. What I learned is that you don't get many, many true friends. You get a lot of associates, people that you can hang out with and be cool with, but you don't get a whole bunch of people that are just like your safe space and you can go and share. So be very careful of who you are saying is your friend. Are they really your friend? Can you go to them and they can keep your information? Or are they going back and telling other people? Are they there for you when you're sad and, kind of like Shalom was saying, like, I'm just in a space where I'm not interested in doing anything. Are they there to help support you and encourage you? Like, really pay attention and y'all are not too young for this. Pay attention to your friendships or what you consider to be a friend. Everybody's not your friend.
Let me ask this one question that I think Denisha put in. Let me ask this and then I think LeBron asked a question. And I think Denisha, she asked the question, I think I'm going to just say, I think it is normal, but her question is it normal for everyone to experience being depressed at one point of their life? And if it is, then why is it considered a mental health issue if it's normal for a person to experience it at one point?
That's an excellent question. I love your thought process on that. So here's the thing, and you hear it from me today, a licensed therapist, but I'm also a human being. We all, no one on this call is exempt. We all have challenges emotionally that we deal with. So just because it's considered a mental health diagnosis does not mean that you're abnormal. All of us, if we went and sat in front of a professional that was big on diagnosing, we probably would walk away with some type of diagnosis. So I don't want us to get caught up in diagnoses, because at the end of the day, we all deal with something, or we will. No one is going to leave this world, and you can take me to the bank on this, without having dealt with something, period. So it is very normal, but like she said, it is considered, a mental health challenge. So with that being said, all of us will encounter mental health challenges, period.
And I think
I would also like to add, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Joe.
No, I was just also going to add that there's a difference between mental health and depression and anxiety. I know we talked about this, but there are different levels, and the explanation of how you experience these issues are different. They're similar. They can go from one to the next, but they're actually different from what my understanding is. Mental health is or can be a diagnosis, whether you deal with it short-term or long-term, just based on circumstance, based on that issue. But I think the way I'm interpreting that is that I think, Erica, you summed it up. I don't want to repeat it, but I think at the end of the day, we will all go through something. Like life, that's just the way it is. But how we deal with it, how we react, how we grow from it, how we experience the trauma or the difficulty or the challenge, whatever it is, how we experience it and how we recover from it, how we pull through it, is really what we need to focus on and build strength behind. But I think there's a difference when something is categorized as mental health, which is, to me, it's more like a health issue versus, I don't know, but yeah, I'll stop there.
Yeah, I don't think
Okay.
I think we get caught up in the word. I think normally doing mental health month, one of the slogans is stop the stigma. So we think mental health, and then we think we think crazy, and mental health is not crazy. It's just like mental health starts when you're about 2 or 3 days old. When you have a baby and that baby is crying because that baby wants someone a bottle, or that baby is wet, that baby is going through a state of depression because you ain't feeding me and you ain't changing me. And keep in mind, as soon as you do that, say, I put a bottle in your mouth, what does the baby do? The baby has been stopped. Baby is wet, you change. That still, or it's like in kindergarten, we ain't playing with Shalom. She ain't our friend. So all of a sudden you in pre-K or kindergarten and somebody's saying, we ain't playing with her. What does that make you feel? That gives you a state of, you don't know the word yet, but you're in a state of depression. Or I have no friends at school. I don't like that school. I don't like that school because nobody is my friend. So that's anxiety, that's depression. We just didn't understand what the name of it was. Or I got to take this test and I'm feeling a certain way. That's anxiety. But we didn't know in 4th or 5th grade what anxiety was. We just know that we felt a certain way. Or back in the day, y'all didn't get this, but when my dad would say, when I get home, y'all can get a beat. And just like, okay, we know what's going to happen when you get home. And we're feeling something, which is anxiety, but we don't know that that was anxiety at that time. So going to the question, we've had depression, we've had anxiety, we just didn't know. Or as a child, you ask your parent, can you do something? And they say no. It depends on how deep you want to call that depression. But you're in a state of depression if I tell you, no, you're not going out, or you can't do this, or you can't have friends, or I don't even want you all of a sudden now I got some little boy, some girl like me, but my parents saying I can't date. Now I'm really depressed. So I think it's just been something that we've always going through, but now we're getting a little more comfortable. And all it is like mental health. It means that I just need to feel good. I don't need to have the drama. I don't need to have trauma in my life. And that's how, so we take the word and try to make it like crazy, but it's just like saying physical health. I want to be in great shape. I want to work out. So emotional health, I just want to feel good. So I think there's just been a bad negative connotation with the word mental health. And that's why when you have mental health month, it's the main thing is stop the stigma. I don't want to go talk to anybody. You got to be crazy to sit with a therapist. And I know I've sat in a room and I talk, and it's just being able to express yourself. And I think it goes to that question that I think who just asked about trust and what I mentioned about the person who comes to you with divorce. You have a lot more trust going to a therapist that you would share something that you're not sharing with others. That's all it is. I just think you just deal with the negative. I think, Lauren, did you have a question? Or something you wanted to say?
That's good, Mr. Willie. That's really good.
Lauren, you said you wanted to say something?
No, I decided to talk to you after this.
Oh, okay. So is there anybody else? I know that Erica, I mean, she only has some other things to do, but thank you, Erica, for showing up. And I don't want to take all your time. I really appreciate this. And can you put your contact information in the chat? Maybe somebody just want to.
Let's see. I am not tech savvy at all.
Oh, that's all right. I mean, that's okay. If anybody has a question or something, I can just get it back to you.
Okay,
So,
okay. Because I don't even see where I can put the chat. Put it in there. Yeah. But if anybody has any questions, I'll be here for a few more minutes. I want to be able to just, have open, honest conversation. If it's something that we've spoken about tonight that is like, I don't really understand that, let us know. Like I said, though we're adults, like we are all in this together. We have dealt with some of the same things or still dealing with them. And this is just a place where you can let it out. It's safe. And hopefully be able to take something from here that will help you on your journey, So whatever your question is, comment, let's hear it.
Kayla, do you have a question?
No.
Okay. Lauren, do you have another question or anything, Christopher?
No.
Okay. I mean, I want to have, Erica, I know when you talked about high school, now, once you graduated, did any of that carry with you to college, or was your college experience different, or was it about the same? Was there any difference, that transition? Because I think sometimes people think like, I'll be glad when I get out of high school, and they think when they get out of high school that I'm not going to have the same issues. And I realized that some of the same issues that I saw in high school didn't stop at high school. That when I went to college, there was, I guess, college it was probably more. And the only reason I'm saying is more. When I was in high school, you're there for that certain time of day, and then I go home. So it's like Erica said, I got a room to go to, but I'm on college, and if I live on campus, this is my family. When I go eat, I'm going to eat with the same people. When I go to class, I'm going to class with the same people. When there's a social event or activity, it's the same people. When I can say I want to go to my room, but I got people that we don't have a private suite. So I got a roommate, and roommates are all, if somebody has a bad roommate story that they thought that they were okay because they were friends and then they became roommates, and then somebody wanted to hurt each other. But I'm just saying, so what was your experience, or okay, I've dealt with this in high school. When I get to college, and let me just say why I asked this. And I think you know the person. I think we've talked to before. This person that was cheerleader at Westlake, and she was going through issues, being bullied when she was a cheerleader up to her senior year. Attempted to commit suicide. Then she went away to college. She went to Clark, Atlanta, and faced the same thing. she faced the exact same things that she faced in high school at Clark, and now she's dropped out of Clark.
Wow.
So is there any difference?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And it's I don't really ever talk about college, but I'm glad you brought this up, Mr. Willie, because after going through all of that in high school, honestly, I told my parents, like, I don't want to go to college. If college is gonna be anything like this, just let me just figure it out. I'll get a little job. And they were like, no, you're going. Figure this out. I don't know what you got to do, but you're going. So it was almost like when I got to school, I didn't have a choice but to really start working on myself and really start connecting with people that I wanted to connect with. In high school, like, it's not a lot of people to choose from, but in college, it gets bigger and you kind of get a chance to, surround yourself with more like-minded people. There are different kind of clubs, like real clubs that you could be a part of, different kind of, they had different kind of dormitories with people that are like-minded. And so I think my process in college, it was difficult at first, but something hit me and it was like, wait, this is your process. You have control over this. You can choose to, sit around and be sad because of what has followed you from high school, or you can choose to get out there, make new friends, be genuine, join different activities, and just, do your work and try to have a good time. So college was really a lot different for me because I had more space to kind of like get to know people, and I didn't have to see the same people all of the time. Like in high school, a lot of us have gone to elementary, middle, and high school with these people. When you get to college, it's a whole new world. And so I think that part itself really helped my journey because I was able to venture out more. And some of those people that I met in college, I can consider are really like lifelong friends. So my experience did change, but it only changed when I decided to do something different. When I decided that, what, I'm tired of like isolating myself. Like I wanna get to know people. So it wasn't easy. I'll keep saying that about all this. It's not easy, but it's definitely doable. It was really just a mind shift of, I'm gonna be here for 4 years. Let me try to make the best out of this. Let me try to make the best. I do not want this to be like high school was. So let me try to focus my energy on situations that make me feel good. People that make me feel good.
Let me ask, Tanisha has a question.
Okay.
And her question is, what can you do when you feel like you're completely alone and there's no one you truly and honestly trust to actually vent to? Any suggestions?
So it kind of goes back. Who asked this question again? Janisha. I think that it goes back to what we were saying earlier, and Miss Jody said it as well. If you do believe in a higher power, and even if you don't, just being able to connect with yourself more, because some of us are not, afforded the opportunity to have like parents that are supportive or friends that are supportive, and it all kind of just falls on us. So take the time to really go into yourself and once again, do the journaling, do the affirming yourself. And eventually, once you begin to do your self-work, I would hope that you'll begin to attract people that really have been doing their self-work as well. And maybe you guys can have a relationship where you can vent to one another, you can trust one another. But I totally get that. You will have places in life where it's like, man, I'm all alone. But really, you're never alone. You're never alone. If you believe in a power higher than yourself, you're never alone.
Okay. I mean, and the other thing, I think we've said this before, and I've tried to always be as open and honest with everybody for the things that I've gone through, dealt with. And I understand, especially with most of you being in high school, that sometimes you don't feel like your parents understand, or sometimes it's just stuff that you're not even comfortable talking to your parents about. So, and I get that, and I certainly understand that. So, I mean, I normally say, and some people on here I've talked to, and when we have those conversations are between me and that person. It's not that I'm ever going to say anything. So I just want anybody here that when you feel like that, you know, Good is here, you know, Leader Jody is here. So sometimes you just need to, you know, it sounds easy while I'm saying it, but I know it's hard sometimes because even if it's an adult, you don't want to be judged. You really don't want to be judged, and I get that, and I understand that. And I, you know, somebody may ask something, and sometimes people may ask, and it may be something that you want to discuss, and it's extremely personal, or it's extremely something that you're feeling, and nobody. And I know, you know, this is a church group, church team. And I'm not lost on the thoughts that your mind, that you may not have certain thoughts of, you know, I'm not lost to that. And I'm not one of those people who say, you shouldn't be thinking like that. Get it out. Because that's just not real. I mean, if you're a young person, you're going to have certain thoughts, you're going to have certain feelings, but you don't want to go like, Mama, I'm thinking about, you don't need to be thinking about it. And then that just makes the situation worse. But this, you really got to find somebody that you can trust. But as an adult, my thing is, and I've seen, and I know a lot of adults. I just know most of you, I think, parents, I know, and some of them I've grown up with, and I knew how they were as teenagers. So you can't play that role. As adults, we act like we never did anything. We act like we never had any experience or anything like that. Like I told y'all, like, hey, I was 19, girlfriend got pregnant. I could have just like, so when somebody say, I can't go somewhere and say, well, you shouldn't be doing this, because it's like, I know your daughter, she's this age and such, but you really want to feel comfortable talking to somebody about those things. So I get that. And it's never, to me, a judgmental thing. Like, hey, man, I've done criminal law. I've had people who admitted to killing people, raping people. You know, like, it ain't my job to judge. My job, for the most part, was to try to help whatever way it can. So it's the same thing when we talk about mental health issues, that you just got to find somebody that can talk to. And some of those may not be your classmate. It may just be the right adult, but at the same time, it needs to be a trust. That right adult who is not trying to be judgmental, and not only just not trying to be judgmental, but don't want to get on the phone and say, ooh, call, like if I'm talking to Kamari about something and she tells me, oh, I'm going to call it. Girl, it's what your child thinking about. You don't want somebody to do like that, to go and try to, like, your child called me and he was thinking about sex and stuff, and I just wanted to let you know, no, that's not something that, when I say find an adult that you can trust, that's not something that I'm going back to say whatever, you know. But the main thing is, I think everybody's old enough that you got to think, and y'all are at that age that you think and you make decisions, and you make those decisions based on what type of life. Was there any other questions?
I agree with that.
Any, because we probably have about 2 more minutes. So if there are no other questions, I just want to thank Erica for taking time. First, you said 15.
Absolutely.
Appreciate the hour. And I know that our young people learned something from it. So just want everybody to join me and at least unmute yourself and say thank you to Erica.
Thank you, Miss Erica.
You guys are
Thank
welcome.
you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Good
Let me
job.
just say this before I exit out. I just want to encourage everybody on this call. This pandemic really took all of us by storm. I know that, and if you say it didn't, then okay, that that's good. But for majority of us, this pandemic took us by storm, and I want us to use this time while we can't really do life like how we used to do life, to really, really tap into your own self. And I keep going back to what Miss Jody said, and really learning to affirm yourself and love yourself. Because even when you guys get older and you decide, oh, I want to get into a relationship, I want to get married, I want to do this, I want to do that. If we don't have the self-love first, number one, then it's going to be very challenging to try to connect with other people. So take this time to just love on yourself, tap into your gifts and your talents. Each and every one of us on this call were created with purpose in mind. Nobody was created just to be here, like just because to take up air and space. We were all created with purpose. So I'm encouraging everybody on this call, young or older, if you haven't already, begin to tap into your purpose. And you do that by figuring out those things like Shalom was saying, that really makes you tick, that really makes you smile, that really makes you feel good. Your purpose is connected to that. So I encourage you guys to use this time wisely. And the last thing that I want to say is be grateful, have gratitude, be grateful for even what we consider small. This is sidebar, I ended up getting COVID in December, a few days after my birthday. The safest person you would ever know, but I still ended up getting it. I don't have it anymore, but during that time, it was like, wow, I was grateful for the small things. And it took that situation for me to really be like, wow, okay, you've been taking this for granted, that you can get up and walk, that you can feed yourself, that you can read a book, that you can write, blah, 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 blah. Don't let it take something major for you to begin to look at the blessings that's around you. I'm talking to you teens, like, be grateful. Be grateful that you have a roof over your head, that you have a team like Mr. Willie and everyone else on the call that's here to support you. A lot of kids don't have that on a Friday night. Be grateful for the small things. Amen. And when you're grateful and you can focus in that space, it really takes you out of that space of being negative and depressed all the time. So that is it. That is all. I am so excited to have been on this call. Mr. Willie, you have my information if you want to share it. I'm here. I would love to come back again. And you know, we have just another topic that we discussed because this is so needed. Thank you, Mr. Willie. Thank you for doing this.
And, all right, thank you. So we're gonna close. Somebody can give us closing prayer. Who wants to do that? Ruben?
Wait, what'd you say?
I want you to give us closing prayer.
Oh, okay. Dear Jesus, thank you for this day. Thank you so much for Miss Erica for using her time to help us learn about this much needed topic. Please help us take this information and put it into our daily lives and help everything to just go good well. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 All right. Everybody have a good evening. Stay safe, and see you in the morning.
See you tomorrow.
All right. See you soon.
Take care. Bye.
All right.
Everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Happy Sabbath.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ron, you can
Sabbath.
say
Sabbath.
wait.